Good day and welcome to my channel. I'm JD and you're watching Watch My Service. You can contact me at jdwatchservice@gmail.com if you're interested in me doing any work on your watch. And today's little adventure is to reassemble this 1885 vintage pocket watch. So it's been cleaned properly, pegged out. The jewel holes have been pegged out. The jewels actually look really good. There doesn't seem to be an issue there. So we're going to reassemble this watch right now. I've decided to keep the old mainspring. The new mainspring would cost a lot of money, and I think that old mainspring might just do the trick. I've stretched it out a bit. I'm not sure if that will recover it as much as I think, but what I'll do is I'll look at the amplitude of the watch after I've reassembled it, and if I've got any amplitude issues with regard to that mainspring, I can always replace that mainspring. So I'll be putting that back into the barrel and then applying some oil on the mainspring itself. And then just reassembling the watch and seeing if I can get that movement ticking exceptionally well. So welcome to this adventure. This is a pretty cool old key wound pocket watch and key set pocket watch as well. So thanks for watching my channel. I've got to do this fairly quickly because I got to go for coffee with somebody in about 2 hours. So can I do it in 2 hours? That's the question. It also includes oiling, of course. So we've got to make sure we're oiling all the parts correctly and the thing is going together well. So anyway, please enjoy and comment. I love comments, by the way. I always answer all comments. Someone asked me yesterday if I use, what cleaning fluids do I use? Well, for vintage pocket watches, I've used lighter fluid for quite a few years, and it was recommended by a gentleman called Old Hippie from the UK who's used it for 30 years as a professional watchmaker. And it's in many books. Also naphtha is used and all these sorts of fuels, I guess you can say. You've got to make sure you've got the right PPE on when you're using these fuels so you don't breathe them in, because they can be very dangerous to your health. And I do wear a mask. I wear my COVID mask for doing this, which is kind of cool. It fogs the glasses up, but you got to put your glasses down below the mask itself so you don't have it fogging up when air escapes through the little cracks in the edges there. So I use that, and I use the lighter fluid. So I will take a case though and put it into my ultrasonic cleaner that's temperature controlled as well to clean the case, and then oil it up. The specific case I have here, I've got to do some work on because it seems to be overstretched on the hinges. Let me show you what I mean by that. Just hang on. I'll move this out of the way and grab the case. And here's the case here, and as you can see, it takes some pressure to try to close this case. And what I think is happening here is that at some point in time in the life of this watch, somebody hauled back on this case here pretty hard and kind of stretched the hinges out. So I'm going to have a look at what that is and maybe how to repair that. I'm not sure if I can repair that or not, but I'll have a look at it anyway and see what I can do. And otherwise, the case is a coin silver case. It's pretty old. I've asked the owner whether he wants me to do some work on it. I actually think it looks pretty cool in this vintage look, so I may not do anything on this because it looks very good. And it doesn't have dents in it or anything. It doesn't look like it has that many dents. There's always a few in the back here, but so he could use Silvo if he really needed to do that and put a little bit of elbow grease and do it. I could polish it up on my polishing machine and get it back to looking mint, but it would, I think, take away from the watch here because it's an 1885 watch. So why make it look like it's a 2001 watch when it's 1885? So there's some value to leaving it looking like a collectible. The other thing I've got to do is source the right crystal. I might have one here. I've got to look and check, and because I've got a whack of glass crystals from Europe. I'm not sure whether they'll fit, but I'll see if they'll do, and if they don't, then I'll have to source a crystal for this watch then. So that's it. So enjoy the video, and if you get any questions, like I said, just ask. Alright, the first thing I'm going to do is put the mainspring back with the the mainspring ratchet, I believe. And it goes on top like this, but I also have to screw in the click springs here that are here. But before I do that, I'm going to apply a bit of oil on there. So I've got my oilers over on the side. You can't really see them, but they're there. You got to trust me here, okay? Just trust me. So I'll just apply a little bit of oil on these pegs here. And you don't have to apply too much oil, and I spilled a bit, and you can use Rodico to clean that up. So, so the way I assembled this, I should assemble it the way I disassembled it, right? Also, I want to apply a little tiny bit of oil, right? On this is inverted, so, and it goes on top of here as a click spring. So I think I just want to put a little bit of surface oil on here. Allow that to spin around, and right on the edge here. That'll make it nice and smooth. And not too much oil though, because that will cause other issues gumming it up. So there you go. And I want to grab the parts here and see if I can remember how these things go together. This here is the click for it, and I believe it goes like this. Right, and it has a spring. The spring I told you I was nervous about removing, so this goes in here, I think, like that. Something like this, maybe like this. I think like this. Yeah, like that. And you've got, oh, maybe not. Maybe it goes like that, because it's got to clear. It's got to clear the wheel, right? So the wheel would go on here like this way, and there's a bit of a, you can tell that it goes on this way because of the cam that's there. And then there's I remember the shape of this little jobby doohickey here when this goes on, and it goes with this side up like that, and then its intent, I have to make sure I put it in the right place, I think, right? So I may take a look at my picture. Yeah, it doesn't hurt to look at pictures, right? And then the spring itself, which is here, this is the spring itself, and it obviously goes like this here. And it's actually in a relaxed position like that until you screw it all in. And here's the screw for it, like that. And then it goes into this position here and lays up against this ratchet here like that. And then this thingy-jobby doohickey then goes like this, and positioned against this little pawl right there. I should get a little closer view here for you guys, because you know I had some complaints before that, hey buddy, you're working too far away from your work. So you can see what I'm up to, left, right, up, down, gee whiz. Okay, hang on while I focus this guy here. And I'm going to adjust the light, and I guess it's not really that professional to be doing this while talking, but what the heck, eh? You see, that is pretty well focused there. Yeah, and as you can see, there we go. So that's how this fit together, right like that. So I'm going to take a look at one of the pictures I have, just to confirm I didn't do something screwy. So I just keep these pictures on my phone, and I knew this was a little bit of a tricky thing, so I took a picture of it, as you can see, and that's how it goes together. So now that I have the photo, I can rest assured that I'm putting it in the right way, and I believe I am, so we're all good. Yeah, that's good stuff. Good stuff, as they say. So, this was the screw for this here. So that's all the screws right there. Normally I'd put these in and then do it, but today, this morning, it's morning by the way, I'm going to do it this way. And these are pretty big gaps on these screws. So I don't need to put this in a movement holder, by the way. Only because there's 4 pegs on the other side holding it in place. So, but I may want to hold these components in place while I screw these down. I've got an airy lens in my glasses, which works really well. That didn't work really well. I may have to put this in the movement holder because it's kind of tippy-toppy. Not sure what's going on here. Maybe I'm too close. There is that. You can get too close to your work and then it just seems to be right in your face and then you can't do anything. So it seems like when I press here though it's tipping, so see if I can do it a little bit further away. I was listening to a guy this morning who was talking about the evils of caffeine, or when caffeine was brought into North America and what it did. Right, it's not that great a drug. Now I noticed that when this thing is screwed in, this is pushed a bit to the edge here. So this little cam is pushed right up against the wall. And so when I tighten this up, there we go. But that's up against the wall. And then see if I can get this one in the same manner. I think you're just seeing the back of my fingernails right now. Now this one here, it can't go super tight because the intent is to be able to move this, right? And if I make it super tight, it won't move. So let me just get my fingernail in there. So it's got to be able to move like that to get out of the way. And then when you do that, it slides back. So I'm going to just tighten it just a bit and see if it makes a difference. Because if you tighten it and it still moves, then there's no issue. Okay, that's moving and then that's flying back into place. That is a wonderful, wonderful thing. Now recall that this is only used when you need to take the pressure off of the mainspring. Oops. Slippity dippity. There, that's pretty tight actually. Okay, that's good there. And then I need to put these 2 screws over here. I got this jobby doohickey thing here. It goes on like this, I believe, over the top. This might go down after I take this spring out, so because it looks like the spring is in the way of this going down, unless I can tuck it in, because it does look like the spring is underneath this thing. So if I tuck it in like that, is it going to go in, or is it going to cause me other issues? Yeah, I think the spring needs to be loosened first, and then this goes in place, and then you tighten the spring down. So let me just do this again, and I think that just makes sure that this thing doesn't roll to the side. I'm just loosening it here to see if that works. Okay, that's sort of in there. And then this just goes down into this groove here. Like that. There we go. Now, it looks like the spring got to the other side of this thing here, so that's not going to work. So I need to lift that spring up a little bit more. And then tighten it down again. So just lifting it up a bit and then moving it over. To do this, I need to gently grab the spring with my tweezers and get in a little bit close here. There we go. So that's now in place. Where is this camera pointing anyway? I think it needs to be pointing right there. And that's now in place. Now I got to screw this down flat. All right, there we go. And I just ticked it one click, and that should work. Just put my screwdriver in here and pushed it up a bit. And that's good there. Now I also want to put a little bit of oil, and I can use thicker oil on this, just around this leaf or this click spring here, so it just has a nice smooth run to it. Now I can make sure when I move this ever so slightly, it's going to there we go. So that's that. So that's put together now. And now I can flip this around. I don't need to put in the minute and hour wheels yet. So I'll flip this around and put it in my Myers movement holder. Alrighty then, now I want to apply a little bit of oil here. So I know that you want to go thicker oil for the thicker gears and then thinner oil for the other stuff. So I'm going to oil up some of these pivots on the inside. Actually, these are just brass, so I'll just put a little tiny bit of oil here, and that's just to help with the friction. All this oil is just for friction. And this is a pretty sizable pocket watch. It's an 18, so it's not like you're oiling with 9010 or something, because it's pretty it's a pretty big watch. So and I'll put a little bit of oil on the center wheel as well, right in the pivot there, and I may apply some oil to the top as well after, but that's good there. And then I did forget to oil that little lever that was on the inside, so I should put some oil in that lever just before I forget, right? I don't want to forget oiling that lever. So if I just flip this around for a second again, and you see where that lever is there, I just want to put some little tiny bit of oil on that. Just right in there. Right there. So just that will help that, and then a little tiny bit of oil in the spring area here. And when the spring goes up, it's going to ride this way, so just going to oil it on the inside just a bit. That's good there. And I already oiled the whatchamacallit thingamajobby on the inside here where this rides. So that's good there, that's good there. I don't need any oil here. I don't want any actually because it'll slide. I did forget to do something, ADHD or whatever you want to call it, but I need to put the screws back in here. This thing fits so tight that I forgot to put the screws in. So that would be a disaster. I would have remembered later though, so I would have seen that and gone, hey, where are the screws? And just tighten those up. I'm not sure how much torque you put on when you're tightening something, but I call it snug, that it will not come out based on movement. The screw will not find its way out again. So it's snug. And some screws you got to watch it, because if they're in too tight, you can actually twist the head off the screw, which is something you don't want to do. When I put it back in the movement holder, I look where this thing is here, and I don't want to be that to be anywhere near these arms here on the edge, because you don't want to squish anything. This movement holder is great though, because it does have a spring inside here. It's like if I press here, you can see it going in a bit, and that spring is a tension spring for grabbing the movement, which is kind of cool. I'm telling you, whoever invented this thing needs to win the Academy Award or something, right? Some kind of award for inventing things that are cool. So I've got to drop the wheels in again. And then there's a main plate on this thing. It's tricky as heck to put all the main plate on top. So what I do is I look at the pallet fork, and I usually use Rodico to hold the pallet fork in place. So the pallet fork slides in under here, and then I use Rodico to hold that in place. And then I flip the whole thing around and place it down, and then I just play the nudgy game to get everything in, all the wheels in place. So first thing I'm going to do though is have a look at where the wheels go. So I looked at my photo, there's my photo, and I oriented my movement to the photo. So, and I've got the big wheel goes on second, so I need to put the seconds wheel in first. I think this is the one here. And it is pinion down, so I think this is the right wheel here, and this goes in pinion down like that. And then the big one, which would be my let's see, 1 2 3 1 2 third wheel, I think. This is pinion down, the other one was pinion up actually. So this is pinion down like this. And I got to get in close, I think, to make sure that's in the hole. And then I've got the escapement is next, and the escapement is actually pinion down. So here's the escapement here, and that's pinion down. You remember when I took this out, this escapement wheel was stuck to the top plate. It's not where it should be, but it was. I'm being very careful with this because you do not want to put any pressure on the pivots. And I'm going to check this one to make sure that's in the hole. I'm up close and dirty right now, so. And it's always good to lift it up and look at it. Make sure everything is in the right position and all of the gears are meshing properly with the pinions, right? And then the last one I've got to put in is the pallet fork, this guy here. So, and he looks like he has a little hair on him. So let me just have a look and make sure that that's immaculately clean. Yeah, it's good now. And this guy goes into this guy. So I'm going to just show you how that's done. I'm going to use a little piece of Rodico to do that. So let me just stop this and get the other one in the way. Alright, so here's the problem here. When you put this into the watch, it's riding up way too high to be able to mesh properly, and it just falls over. So I found that the best thing to do here is to place it in the movement here, and this is where the mouth is. So make sure I've got nothing down below that's scraping here. Nothing is really there. And again, I got to get a little bit closer here, but why is this slipping? There we go. So it actually goes the other way. Let's put this down here for a second. And then the mouth of this jabby doohickey, I want to make sure just before I put it in, I'm just going to jab the mouth a bit with some Rodico. Like that. And then I'm going to jab it again with some pith wood. And I know this might piss you off, but I'm going to hold it a little harder when I'm doing this, I think. So I just want to jab it with a little bit of pith wood to get anything that might be in the way out of the way. So any dirt or anything else, it looks pretty good though. I like the Rodico stuff after. I'm a Rodico-aholic. I'm just trying to make sure that everything is, there's no dust or anything else that's on this, because this is a very critical part of the watch. I'm just going to and the jewels, I've already cleaned the jewels, so I'm not too worried about that. Then this just slips in like so. I may have to go off camera to do this because it requires me to get in nice and close, and right now I'm not getting in nice and close. So this goes in like that. Yeah, I'm going to go off camera for a sec because I'm fumbling. And I got to get in close to do this properly. There, I've decided to show you my dirty work again. So I got my second Myers number 2 movement holder, or number 58 movement holder. Because it'll give me the light there, I should be able to grab that and then twist it around. So this is why these pocket watches, not a lot of people like working on these. I think you got to own the watch to work on it. Here we go. So I think if you own it, it's not as bad. So you're like, this is my new watch. So there we go. So it's in there now. So what I do here, and I've been successful at doing it so far, is I take a little tiny strip of Rodico and I place that Rodico on either side of this, creating a bit of a bridge. So I just want to create a little bit of a bridge, and I pull that bridge out with my tweezers later on. So I just need to lay that down like that, and I just want this bridge to hold this part in place, and I can do it on this side here because it's sort of out of the way. So let me just hold this just very carefully. And I just kind of flatten the Rodico on the bridge to hold it in place. And I don't want the Rodico to get in the way of the wheel here. So I really have to flatten it a lot here. And then after I've flattened the Rodico off like that, that just keeps it in place. Now I can turn this whole mess upside down. And again, before so that just keeps a bridge, a little bridge for this to stay in place. As you can see, now it's staying in place. And then it allows me to, oh, the bridge unstuck. Hang on. The bridge doesn't have to be there that long. And you just got to go in there and pluck this out with your tweezers after. And I just make sure that the pivot here is standing up straight. That way when I put it down onto the movement here, I've got no problems. I still have to put some of this stuff on the feet of the escapement, right? So that's that there. So I want to just put this movement back in scene here, as they say. And this is going to go flip around the other way, right? So just loosen this up. You can grab this like this. And this is about the hardest part because there's a whole lot of gears here. So I want to put that straight down. Line up as much of these as possible, but it's going to line up with the posts. And go straight down with the post. So just look at it from the top, and then it's just like landing the shuttle. Okay, so and it should go straight down like that. All right, and now what I do when I've got it like in this position here, these screws here have a plate on them already, right? So they'll have a plate on them. These ones don't. So what I do is I take the screws that are for this plate here and I just put them in place and I screw them down, not tight at all, just screw them down, but absolutely no pressure, right? Because I don't want, the pivots are not through the jewel holes yet, more than likely, right? But I don't want the plate falling off when I maneuver it, so I just put this on like this, and that just keeps the plate in place. I can't put them here because the plate for the mainspring goes there. So these full plate pocket watches are a pain in the ass. There's no if, and, or but. Usually I will not accept a full plate pocket watch job because of the amount of time sometimes it takes to get those pivots in place. I'm becoming a little bit of a nudging expert, but so I'll lift that up. I'll use this tool here. Ah, Jesus, I poked myself with it. Blood! I'll use this tool here. This is very sharp, by the way. And again, I think I'll live. So just make sure there's lots of blood coming out of that hole. Hey, I can do my sugar test with this blood. And I'll use this to just nudge the pivots to get them in place. So I'll be back. Alright, I nudged all the pivots in place. Actually, that wasn't that hard this time, which is nice. And I usually put a screwdriver. I put a screwdriver on the edge here, like this. I'm trying to show you here, and just lightly go like back and forth. And that's to make sure I've got movement. So, because it's not going to spin freely. You can't run the train on these, which is nice on other watches because you've got to put this darn escapement in, right? And it doesn't allow you to run the train. So now I just take this piece of Rodico out and everything is good to go. So everything looks like it's nice and tight in place, no problem. I need to make sure that that these screws are in tight now. So I can put a little bit of force on it because I can see that the everything is moving nicely. Just move that again to make sure we're good. Yeah. See, I can actually put some pressure on the mainspring, or from the mainspring, which would be on the center wheel, and just snap that escapement back, right, which would show that it's all working well. So moving that a little bit closer here, a little bit closer now, a little bit closer now. Isn't that a song? There we go. So now I'm going to put a little pressure on here and then see if the there, see how that snapped there? There. That's what you want. You want that little bit of pressure on the center wheel, and then this snaps, which means all the wheels are in there nice and like pretty solid in there. So now I can tighten these screws here, put a little snugger, as they say, right? So now those are nice and tight. So I've done the yeoman's work, I call it, and now I've got to reassemble the mainspring of the watch. So I do that by hand, and I'll see if I can do it with a glove on, but it's really difficult. So I'm going to probably do it barehanded. People will probably go, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" But I don't think there's any other way of doing it. But I've seen videos of old guys in factories putting watches together, and they don't have gloves on. So these watches were pretty resilient. So don't know if it'll cause a problem, but I'm doing it that way anyway. So there you go. So let me just turn it off and back it up. Now, if you recall, I took a picture of the mainspring so I knew which way it wound. That way I wouldn't have to be guessing here. So there's the picture of the mainspring, and there's the mainspring down. All right, now this mainspring has already been cleaned. Let me wipe it down a bit more here. Just wipe the mainspring down here, like so. Like so. Grab this little bugger. And then walk it to the end here. This is a very thick mainspring, by the way. So, and there's the end there. Yeah, there we go. And I won't oil that until I actually get it into the watch. So this will go in like this, and then be wound around. Just before I do that, I'm going to take some Rodico and then just wipe the inside. So the mainspring has been cleaned already, or the barrel, but again, Rodico. This will get rid of anything that's in there that you didn't want to be in there. So, and I'll roll the wheels too, although the wheels are clean, so there shouldn't be an issue there. That, and that's the barrel cap. Just make sure I don't have any issues on the barrel cap. And the cleaner this is, the less friction there is. That's the bottom line here with that. So I'm going to try to get the inside without my little fingies in there too, right? So there's no fingy oil in there on the inside, where the friction would have to be reduced. So it goes in here, and then I wind it up. I'll show you how this is done. So this is tricky sometimes because you got to get it in that first hole, and I sometimes have to do it again. So that's where it goes in there, and then I just bend it like that to tuck it into the first hole, and then I got to walk it around like this, and I can see it's not in the hole anymore just by looking at it. If I move it up just ever so slightly, I want it to be sticking in that hole. Yeah, it's not in the hole right now, so I've got to adjust it. Come on, get in the hole. This could be a tricky one, ladies and germs. So as I wrap it around like this, it wants to move the other way, right? So probably good just to start it on the other side of the hole, on this side of the hole, like this, and then allow it to slip the other way. So it's tricky. Usually I don't do this on camera because it's embarrassing. Yeah, it slipped away. So I'm going to wrap this in. I'm not sure if I want to do this on camera or not, because I have to keep chatting while I'm doing it and I can't concentrate. So I want this part to be in the hole, Maybe I should just use a mainspring winder. I do this by hand though, trust me, and it works well. So anyway, let me get back and see if I can start winding this. Alright, I give up. I'm going to use my Binford 4000 mainspring winder here. So what I want to make sure is I pick a barrel that's the right size for this. So is this the right one? Let me check. I'm going to clean this out too a bit. So that is about as big as it gets. That's the size 18 barrel for this. And like I said, I'm going to Rodico it because I think there's a bit of dust in there. And there's the winder itself. And again, and I think I'm going to need the biggie here, which is this one here, to go in. And just going to clean this off a bit. Clean it off a bit so there's no dust, because that dust will go into the barrel and then I've got other problems. And then the mainspring winder here. I got a couple of these, but I do this by hand, but it's hard to do by hand, I think, when I'm on camera, because you got to kind of push it in and it's got to kind of flow into the right slot, which is tough. So now I need to get my vise. Let's get the vise out. Alright, I think this is the only time I've used this to put a mainspring in like 4 years. So, but I decided to try it out here. So, let's see how well this works. So, see if I can remember how to do this. This already has a winder in here, so I'm not sure if that's the right size, because it looks to be a bit smaller than that one. But so maybe I got to put in the big one, put in the beast. I think I may have to put in the beast. So this has got a little screw here that you loosen. Gotta get the right screwdriver for the right job. This is a bigger screw, and just loosen that up, and then that collar comes out, and this comes out, and then you put this back in with the collar. It was somewhere around there. I think I have to probably adjust this again. And then this guy goes in here like that, and then the whole shooting match goes all the way through. And you got to make sure that there's enough winding stuff in there to get this all the way through. So right now there isn't, so I've got to adjust this again. So I just loosen that screw a bit. This, hope you're seeing this right now, and then I want to have enough in there to be able to wind it in, and I'll just leave it like that. And then when I push it in, I end up putting that in. I'm going to pop it into the barrel after I remove this. So once I get this barrel in place, now I have to tighten this up, leave a little opening there like that. And then put this in the vise. Badoom, badoom, badoom. Like so. And then you want to make sure you're winding it in the right direction. So if this is to go into the barrel like this, right? That means the barrel would be like this, which means this has to go in like this and be wound in this way, right? So that is the trick. So I have to make sure that that's wound in properly. So I'm just going to catch it first. And catch it and then pull it in. Come on. There we go. So that's caught right now inside. Now I just noticed that my this thing here is a little bit, I need to adjust this again, because I want to make sure that this collar is absolutely perfect. So I'm going to move the collar over just a bit more so that it's snug, and then tighten that collar up like that. And then I just wind this mainspring into the barrel, and I'm keeping my hand on here because I don't want the my finger on here, because I don't want the mainspring to pop out. It shouldn't, but You never know. So that's it there. And the last thing is this little hook on the end, right? I think I keep it on the outside when I push this whole nonsense into the barrel. I can't remember. I'm trying to remember whether I put that on the outside or not. So once I've wound it in, I can just back it off a bit, like that. And then you can use a screwdriver on the end. So you've got it in this situation here. Let me just loosen this up. So you got it kind of in this situation here, and you've got a knobby dooby jooby here. You've got to basically release this from the knob. So you can just put your winder in like that and just take your screwdriver and twist it, and that'll just release the knob, and then I can pull the whole nonsense out like that. So now I've got this, loosen that up like so. Now I've got the spring wound in here, so theoretically I should be able to push this into the barrel, right? Theoretically. So because the barrel's like this, and I've got to make sure that this thingamajobby fits in where the and there it is there. So you can see the T is sticking through the hole there, like so. So now I should be able to push this into the barrel. So if I can remember how to do this, I think you push in, and then I'm trying to remember whether I push this in while this is in here or not. Let me see if I can remember that, because I know this is in place like that. So it would make sense if I were to tighten this, right, like that, and then make sure that the T is in the right place. I should be able to just push that in, right, theoretically. You know what? I got to move this back. This has got to go against the hub here to push that in. So let's just loosen that. And I got to move it up snug against the hub. I don't care about the end part anymore. So I can just move it to this position here. Tighten that. Like that. And then I'm praying here, because I can't really go wrong here, I don't think. But if I just put some pressure on the barrel here and just the whole thing is sliding. That's not working. I'm just trying to remember the mechanics of this jobby do, because I told you I never use it. Maybe I use my thumb on this, because I've got it tight down here, so it's not going anywhere. And if I push this here, is that going to push that into the barrel? That's the question. Don't remember. Darn it! Yeah, because the spring is wound here, right? So it's wound into place. And all I want to do is make sure that that part there just pushes it down into the barrel, which should be, I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, I think it's this thing here. You just push it. But the collar needs to be down the other end. So I am confused, because I wind these by hand. So someone's going to write me and go, look, you idiot, this is how you do it. I don't want to cut myself again, because that hurt, but I was able to do a blood test. So I think that if I just were to just put some pressure here, no, Jesus, the whole thing is slipping. So that's not working. Because the outside collar should push the whole damn thing in. But if it's already in there, then I've got to push it and lift at the same time. I don't know. Oh, there you go. That's how I'm supposed to do it. Now, did the little T get in there? It did. That was so easy. So all I did was, as I'm pushing, I just moved this back a bit. So I was like, okay, how does this pop in? Because I like other ones that pop in. So that goes like this. You wind it up, and then when you hit this like that, it pops in. Right? Let me just show you this at an angle here. I should use this more often. That was actually pretty easy. So there it is there. The spring's wound up around here. You use this to wind the spring in. You do this. Of course, the collar is loose and it's sort of adjusted so the thing is just sticking out the right amount. The collar is probably stuck out about there, like that. And then you tighten this up, and that just ensures that this doesn't push out too far. So you got this like this situation here, and then you're winding the spring in, and there's a gap right there, and that accepts the spring, and then you line the T-hole up, and then after you're finished that, you get rid of that, and you go boop, and it pushes in. Anyway, oh my God, I need to use this little tool more often. But I'm telling you, I usually wind these in by hand. So I don't know. The heck. What the heck? So I've got 2 of these thingamajobbies as well. It's like I got 2 of everything. I'm afraid of losing something, I think. I gotta get rid of this vise too. I'm babbling right now just so you can have a longer video. So this goes in like that. Loosen the vise. Like this. Just loosen this screw here. This needs some oil, I can tell. I need to do some polishing of this later on. So get some oil in there because it looks kind of crappy. And this lays down something like this, I think. I can't remember. Something like that. It doesn't go this way because that doesn't make any sense. It might go this way, but yeah, maybe it goes that way. So anyway, that's it right there. It's all good until somebody loses an eye. And then I can take take this out, right? I can take this out and put it back in its home again. There we go. Done. Done and dusted. And now I need to put the barrel cap back on. So there's 2 little mouths in the barrel cap. Where is everything? Where is everything? Let me just refocus again. Refocus. That's what my name is. Refocus. I think I'll turn this off and turn it on again just so I don't lose the video. Alright, so there's 2 little openings here. One is actually for the T on the end of the mainspring, and this is to slip a screwdriver in to pop the cap off. So that is what those are for. So, but the first thing I've got to do now is get that darn arbor in place, right? And the arbor, this big square part of the arbor should be on the bottom, right? So this would go in, and let me think here. This goes in like this, I think. Like that, because this goes in the hole here. Yeah. Yeah, if you look at this here, there's a lot of camera moving today. If you look at this here, this goes in like that, and then this is for the key, for key winding the pocket watch. That's the key part right up top there, right? So the arbor would go in like this because the gear here goes on the bottom to hit the pinion, so of the other gear. So this would go in like this, like that, and put that. Sometimes you have to narrow the spring as well, right? Narrow down the spring, but you just need to get a proper little anvil here to work with. Anvil or whatever these things are called, because you need a hole. You can't do this without a hole. And am I ever chatty this morning? It must be the coffee I had earlier. So this would go in like this, I believe. Let me look and see. See how stupid I am today. Yeah, that goes in like that, and it catches the spring right there. So should be able to just tuck that in like that. Come on, tuck in. Time for Betty bye. Just grab this. Not sure if you're seeing what I'm doing here, but I'm trying to get this thing in place. Fiddling. I'm fiddling. Fiddly diddly do. See, I'm fiddling with this thing to try to get it in place. And get the screwdriver in here. There we go. Now that's hooked in place, so that should catch that mainspring, and it is. So that's good there. And I'm going to put a little bit of oil. Again, more oil, folks. Going to put a little bit of oil right around the edge where this hits down here. So going to just put a little dab of doohey right down there. And I also want to, you know what, I want to just give this a little bit of Rodicoing before I put the cap on the bottle here. Let me get my pegwood out here, because I can see some stuff I want to get rid of. That obviously the cleaning didn't get rid of, which she should have, but it didn't. So, and sometimes you just take a stick of Rodico and it will just get rid of any leftovers. Not Rodico, pegwood. From some lady named Peg. It's probably Peg from El Bundy, right? That's pegwood. It's the wood that... Geez, that's Al's... Anyway, I won't go there. It's disgusting. That's what I would call pegwood. My little brain just thinks of jokes all the time. Not sure why, but it's ever since I was a little kid. I used to get in trouble in school because I'd always be cracking jokes for the teacher. And the teachers in those days didn't appreciate, probably nowadays as well. My daughter's a teacher, so I'll have to ask her. But they didn't appreciate a sense of humor back then. You can be joking around and stuff, and they thought you were an idiot because you were joking around. But in fact, there's a lot of idiots making billions of dollars out there. So that's that. Let me just get some oil again here, because I think I probably removed it. I just want a little bit on the wall of the of this arbor here. I think I forgot what this was called earlier, but I think I just remembered. So, Mainspring Barrel Arbor is the name, in case you're researching names of crap. Now the most important part of this here is to make sure that that T is lined up properly, so that when you push this down, there we go, I'm going to make sure that that's lined up, and then I should just be able to push this into place and use a screwdriver to get the cap down. So I just push it down with my fingers to start off with, and then I use a screwdriver to push it down. Sometimes I got to tap it with a stake, like a flat stake. Usually you can take your screwdriver like that and just sandwich it, and then apply some pressure here, and it will snap into place like that. And just to make sure everything is down, you just go around the edges here and make sure everything is snapped into place with your screwdriver. I like these because they're not steel and they don't cause any problems when I'm using them on. They won't mar the movement or anything. So So there we go. That's that. I want to put a little bit of oil on the bottom side of this as well. Right in here. That'll help it ride around. Like that. There we go. It's much better. Now I don't want too much oil, because too much oil will collect dust and then other problems will happen. So so that's that part. And not sure if this is focused, but I'm going to just do some focusing again. Mr. Focus on the spot. So I always say Focus, not just a crappy car. But actually, my wife had a Focus, a Ford Focus, and she friggin' loved it. It was the best car she ever owned. And then we got another Ford, actually, a Ford Escape, and it is now the best car we've ever owned. So the spring just rides in here. Should just go in like this. And it's going to find the hole in the bottom, right? So, and it should sit down into that hole at some point in time. And you might have to actually remove the movement and flip it over and have a look and see what it looks like on the other side, because it has to fit into the hole, right? So you can put a little pressure on it like that, and then you can move the ratchet as a technique. Of course, I'm probably moving it in the wrong direction, right? One, two, be very careful when you do this, because you don't want to mar the teeth of this little ratchet, this jobby doohickey. And one more should line it up, right? Now that is friggin' aligned, so I'm going to rock it until it's there. So it just snapped into place now. So I just put that in there, move the ratchet around until it snaps into place. Now the barrel is in place, back into the number 58 movement holder. And I'm going to now put the bridge on. Now if you look at this bridge, I want to, again, a little more oil. I want to put a little oil on the top of this bridge, because it's going to be riding on here too. So I'm just going to take a little bit of oil here and put a little tiny bit of oil right on here. Yeah, this is where, here and there. And you don't have to put a lot on there, but I think I'll put it on both sides here. Like that. Just jab that in there. And then this just goes on top. Now I can see some crud on the top of this thing, right, that didn't come off. The question is, will my piece of pegwood take this off? I don't like that crud. I guess I could get all this together and then try to get rid of that later, actually. Some sort of corrosion or something that's on that. And I do have a brush that gets rid of stuff like that. It's got what is it? Not nylon, but it's a fiberglass brush that might get rid of some of that stuff. I also have an amazing fingernail here that can also be used. I don't like that though. I'm not sure how to get rid of that. I could try to polish it off. Then you're like, these movements, they have a little tiny, it's like a stucco ceiling. They got little stucco ceiling marks, and you don't want those things to go away. So I'm going to go downstairs and see if I can polish this off. So I'll be right back. Yeah, I think I got most of the corrosion off of that plate, which is good. Now I just have to put this on top again. Still has a little bit of a dot there, but this is corrosion eating into the side, which I did not like. So there you go. Let me just put that back in here. Ba-ding! I believe I've got 2 messages. So put the screws back here, and then I'm going to get this movement going again. Here we go. So to run downstairs, I got to go for coffee in a few minutes. And this is in place and tight. I'm going to make sure these are tight. More Rodico. More Rodico. The world of Rodico. Let's clean up some more of this stuff here in this old watch. This old watch. Now the other thing I want to do before I complete this movement, because I can wind it up right now, is oil the jewels. So I need to oil the jewels. So, and I want to make sure the thicker oil is on the bigger movement. So I can oil the center one here. And then that's 1, 2, and this is 3. That will require, oh, actually I should have oiled this here. Sorry about that. I'm going to have to Rodico that one again. That's 3 there. And then I'm going to put thinner oil on the other side here. And there's little oil pots there that you can use to fill the oil up there. And I'm going to Rodico this one here a bit. And then redo the oil. That's kind of dirty Rodico. I got to use the other end. It's a cleaner Rodico. And then oil that and put that in there. There we go. That's good there. Yeah, it shined up a bit where the corrosion was here, but this was corrosion eating into it, so there's no getting away with that. I got this spot here is now gone, which is nice around Springfield. So yeah, anyway, that's that. Now I'm going to put just a little tiny bit of a wind onto this watch here. And I'm just going to test with a piece of pegwood the snap of the pallet fork here. There we go. Look at that. That's snapping back and forth. I know from experience, do not fart with these here unless you absolutely need to, right? Because that's an art to itself. So that's that. And I'm going to go for a coffee now, and then I got to put together the balance and the rest of it, and away we go. So there we go, and I'll be back. Also good to put a movement cover on while I'm not around. So back in an hour. All right, I'm back and ready to go. That was like a 3-hour break. So I've got this underneath its nice little curtain here. So I'm going to, next thing here is to put the balance back together. Now I do this on my microscope, so it's pretty hard to show, but what I do is I take the balance and I put it on a piece of Rodico at an angle. Piece of Rodico like that, and I put it at an angle, and I'm able to hold the balance and then just push the pin in that way. It's a pretty stable way of doing it. It's not that difficult, and I've found it to be work really well over the last couple of years. So anyway, I'm going to go put that balance together, and then I'm going to put that in the movement, and that'll be the end of this video once I get this thing running again. Alrighty then, there's the watch. It's running pretty good. It's got a decent amplitude. It's starting to pick up as it works itself in. I put this Mobius 9415 on the escapement, which helped a lot. Without that, there's way too much friction between the escapement and the jewels. It's oiled up right now. I'm just going to let it run probably for a couple days and just let it work itself in. And then after that, I've got to deal with the case. I could case it and get it all ready to go, but I still have to deal with the case and getting the right crystal for this watch, which could be challenging. So anyway, this is good news. It's going. It's running very well. No problems there. There it is. Ta-da! And ta-da again. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.